Right now, a few employees from companies like NVIDIA, OpenAI, or Oracle can totally shift an entire city's housing market in San Mateo County. And it's not an exaggeration. I know it sounds crazy, but that is what I am seeing on the ground right now. So with the rise of all of the jobs in AI, people are moving here with access to a lot of cash, and it doesn't really take that much to move the needle in this market. Okay, so this isn't just another tech boom. This is wealth creation at a speed and scale that's fundamentally reshaping what I'm seeing here for real estate in San Mateo County. So over the last year or two, I've watched the percentage of my clients working in AI grow dramatically. So not a shocker, these are growth industries, but we're seeing a pretty specific effect on the San Mateo County real estate market, of course in San Francisco, and perhaps in Marin a little bit as well. And people who work in AI, I'd say these buyers are a little bit different from a financial perspective. They're coming in with massive down payments, having recently gotten a lot more liquidity perhaps. They make very fast decisions, and they're also competing with very high down payments and or cash offers for the limited inventory that we have available. In this video, I want to break down exactly what's happening using real 2025 sales data, recent news about NVIDIA's partnership with OpenAI and their massive infrastructure investments from my own clients on the ground. Because if you're thinking about buying or selling in San Mateo County, you need to understand how AI money is changing the game and why 2026 could even see more price appreciation than we've even experienced this year. To keep up with what's going on in the local real estate market, make sure you can join me every Monday at 5 p.m. for a new video. So why is it different now versus other booms that we've had in the past? So right now, there's a record amount of cash sitting in US money market accounts. In the Wall Street Journal, I was just reading, there's over $7 trillion just sitting there, getting people 4.5% interest, and people are wanting to deploy that cash, whether into investments or into homes and condos that they can live in. I mean, ultimately, you cannot live in your Apple stock. Like, people need a place to live. The other thing that's really interesting and that's different is we're seeing so much growth and development been spearheaded by OpenAI in San Francisco. Just in the last couple of weeks, we've seen NVIDIA invest a massive amount of money into a partnership with OpenAI. We're seeing OpenAI now allowing employees to sell shares in the secondary markets in the billions of dollars. Even Google just had a huge gain in their stock recently as a result of the effects of their litigation not being as strong as it was expected to be. So I think we're just seeing a lot of money that is getting deployed that's liquid wealth. This isn't just stock options and RSUs. This is people selling their stock that they have and deploying that into real estate. So there is this thing called the talent magnet effect, and you can go read all about that, the effects of Silicon Valley and why Silicon Valley has not been able to be replicated elsewhere, even though there's other hubs throughout the world. But basically, the companies here, big tech, are bringing in top talent from around the world. And so it's not just big tech, it's also biotech and healthcare and finance, but a lot of that is big tech related. And dozens of companies, including some that I've mentioned here, are competing for the same talent pool. And so you probably saw Mark Zuckerberg at Meta, it was in the headlines where they're paying $200 million, obviously, to just very few employees, but that's crazy. This is huge money. I mean, these people in AI are being treated like professional athletes in some regards. So there's huge value that's being created here. And a lot of that money is getting deployed back into real estate locally, especially at these higher price points. And so all of these employees need somewhere to live. If you work in AI and you're relocating here and you're thinking about making a move in this market, feel free to reach out to me and I can try to find you the right home in the right location. The other thing that's really interesting is when I kind of think about it, I've experienced this for years, but how like one hire can kind of move the market. Now that sounds a little bit dramatic, but there is a little bit of a domino effect here. So in any of these companies like NVIDIA, OpenAI, Oracle, Google, Apple to some degree, but Apple's a little bit more predictable. But when these companies are making announcements, we can typically see effects in the housing market within a few months of that, right? And I'm not saying like that's good or bad, but that is the effect that I see. I'm gonna show you some data that I think is super interesting, just to give you an idea how small each of these markets are. So if we take a town like Belmont, for example, Belmont year to date, we've had 102 sales. We've had 11.3 homes sell per month on average. Now let's take Burlingame, 115 sales year to date. We're on track for one of the fewest number of transactions for the city that we've ever had. 2023 was the lowest. 2024 was the second lowest. 2025 is I'm not sure where it's gonna be, but it could easily either it's possible we could even beat the 2023 numbers for fewest number of sales. So we'll see. But we can see Burlingame, 12.8 homes sell per month. Hillsborough, 10.1. San Mateo, about 23. And you can kind of see the rest of the data here that I'm putting up on the screen. What's fascinating, if we kind of take a step back and we think, okay, Burlingame, for example, 12.8 sales per month. Is it possible that every month we could have one new employee from any company working in AI say, you know what, I want to buy a home, I want to buy my first property, I want to buy my first condo, I want to buy my first single family home. Usually we're seeing these buyers come in at higher price points, like $2 to $6 million buying their first property. And we're seeing when they come into the market, we don't need to have 20 employees at OpenAI say we want to buy a home in Burlingame every month. But if you have one person from OpenAI, one person from Oracle, one person from Google, one person from NVIDIA, just entering the market, that's going to put pressure on prices. And that's exactly what we're seeing now for the best real estate. So if I had to kind of think about the market, I would divide it into properties that are an A or a B. Now, when I work with my clients, I was thinking about, like, I try to grade properties. Like, this is an A, this is an A minus, this is a B plus. Now I say, you know, if you can get something that's at least an A minus, like, you're winning, okay? Not everyone gets an A, and you might never get an A because, oh my God, I can't believe I bought that for $2, $3, $4 million. These are crazy numbers to begin with, so it's hard to get that feeling. But when we kind of look at this, you're like, wow, 12.8 homes are selling per month. In order for the market to remain flat, that means there needs to be about 13 buyers per month who want to buy a home in Burlingame who buy, okay? If you think there's at least 15 or 20 families, couples, individuals who are willing to buy a home in Burlingame at any given moment, are there more than 15 or 20? I would say, yeah, there could be 30 or 40, that's my guess. Then you start to see prices rise. And that's why we see prices have risen very steadily, even with interest rates being higher, because there's so much liquidity coming into the market. So when we kind of look at this data, this gives me a lot more context and hopefully makes a lot more sense for you watching this as to it doesn't take much to move the needle in these markets. Now, the other thing that's really interesting is the amount of cash that we're seeing come into San Mateo County. Now, Palo Alto in particular, getting a loan, you could even be at a disadvantage at some higher price points. So for a while, it's been 50% or more of transactions in Palo Alto are selling with cash, which is massive. Over the last few years, in like a couple markets, let's say Burlingame and Hillsborough, which are two of the more expensive markets we're seeing a higher percentage than we've ever seen before. So for example, let's take a look here at Hillsborough. We can see that in 2024, 31% of all transactions were cash. And in 2023, it was 26.8%, 2022, 23%, 2021, 23%, and 2020, 15.6%. But what's interesting though, is prices have also increased at the same time. So we're seeing people put down more cash and prices have gone up. Okay, so let's take a look at Burlingame, for example. So 2024, 18% were cash, 2023 was 24.8%, 2022, 9.5%. When we look at that, you know, I look at this data typically at the end of the year, I think we're gonna see 2025 had the highest percentage of cash transactions in San Mateo County than any other year that we've seen in the past. I'm doing a transaction right now at $1.3 million that's cash. I ran an offer a few days ago at $2.4 million that was cash. So a majority of my transactions are not cash, but I'm definitely seeing at a higher rate than I've seen in the past. When we kind of couple that with the supply that I just shared with you, how we have so few homes are for sale. I mean, I wish that any buyer out there would say to me, there's 3 homes for sale here right now. I've seen them all. I've read the disclosures. They all look pretty sweet. I need your help figure out which one should I write an offer on. Like, tell me something that might be missing here or my blind spot. No one ever says that to me. I just never hear people say that. You know, maybe in a market like Phoenix or Texas or Sacramento where there are tons of homes for sale and tract homes and this and that, they all look similar. Okay, not a negative, but there's just a lot more supply of similar homes like that. Here, we don't really see that. So my view is, if you're a buyer, really spend the time with your agent to understand what you can get and look back over the last 3, 6, 9, 12 months and look at the 3, 4, 5 neighborhoods that you're thinking about buying. Cast a wide net in the beginning and then tighten that up. So you'd be really, really focused and get very granular down to street level detail where you want to live, and they can see based on history what homes have sold rather than you just relying on your realtor as the expert to say, here's what you can get. I mean, obviously that's really helpful, but doing a more data-driven approach. And so that is my pro tip if you have any control over how your process is going to go. So now that you've been hearing all this, if you're wondering, is now the right time to sell or if you should wait to buy, reach out to me. I'm helping clients navigate these exact decisions every day. Okay, so now let me share with you a couple stories for what I'm seeing from some clients that I'm currently working with or have worked with in 2025. First of all, clients of mine working in AI and tech are now an increasing percentage of the overall folks that I represent, which is very fascinating. Like I mentioned earlier, kind of the four main industries that people work in who are buying around here. This is a broad generalization, of course, but big tech, biotech in South San Francisco. Of course, there's over 80 biotech companies, 10 million square feet of lab space, healthcare, UCSF, Stanford, CPMC, and then finance and FIDI in San Francisco. Like I have some buyers that I'm working with right now where they both live in Soma and they work in FIDI. They want to move to Burlingame. I was recently chatting with a client who's has a parent who's been at NVIDIA, and that parent has done really well. As part of the conversation there, a person had been at NVIDIA for a really, really long time, probably, I think, at least 10 years. And if you had $1 million that you received over a 4-year period, like $250,000 grants per year, if you're a high-value employee, today's going to be worth tens of millions of dollars. And so for that profile of client, they have their parent who they can tap as a resource to help them pay cash and then put debt on the property post-closing. And so that can help that buyer be a lot stronger. They can close faster, like a 7 to 10 day close, no appraisal, no financing contingency. It's just easy. And so we're seeing more of that. I had a client reach out to me who owns a home in the northern part of the county. The husband has a new job working in the South Bay in the AI space. They reach out to me because they want to buy a condo in the South Bay just to have a little crash pad to stay at 3 to 4 nights a week, just to be near work. You know, their budget was about $1 million just to buy a 1 or 2 bedroom condo down there. So we're seeing this effect of more people entering the market just to kind of buy these properties that I would say are a luxury. It's a huge privilege, of course, but we are seeing that happen a lot. I'm seeing clients who work in AI who have purchased properties for their parents just to be nearby. I have one friend who has done extremely well in the crypto space and has bought homes for his parents and for his sister, and they all live within walking distance of each other. And each of these homes was in the $4 to $5 million price range. This was a buyer who would not have considered purchasing 3 to 4 years ago. And so this is all new wealth that's being created. And it's being created at an unprecedented scale, at least very locally, because my goal is to share with you what I'm experiencing here in San Mateo County. If I had to kind of describe this profile of buyer in AI, I think people are very patient. I think they're very sophisticated. I think they're very prepared, and they understand what they want. They also understand they could be competing with other employees and even colleagues at the companies that they work with. So I hear that sometimes because a lot of them are getting liquidity at the same time, and so they're entering the housing market at the same time, or if they already own, then they're looking to upgrade at the same time. I do think this is good because it creates a little bit more turnover in the market, which can unlock more transactions. The more transactions there are, the more supply there is for just the broader market to choose from in general. So I just did a transaction a week ago. My clients are buying a larger home on a lot double the size of what they currently own. They were about to start a major renovation on the home that they currently own, but then they saw this other place had been sitting on the market for a while. It was overpriced, and then they went in and we got it way under the asking price because it just was a little mispriced from the beginning, but the home did need some work. So I feel like that's an opportunity there that might not have been there in the past for that profile of buyer. People are willing to pay a premium for the right property, and let's just get this out there. Regardless of how quality your representation is representing you as a buyer, you do need to be willing to overpay every other buyer to get the property. Okay, we can talk more about that if you're interested. All my contact info is below. Now that I've shared all this with you, what are my predictions and what do I see that's coming down the pike? I think we're gonna see prices continue to appreciate in the high single digits over the next 12 months. Now, what's interesting is I don't think this is going to happen across the board for all types of real estate. I think this is going to happen mostly for the best pieces of real estate. Homes that are in very good condition, in very good locations, at attractive asking prices. It's for sure reasonable that we're going to see prices go up there. Year to date, we're seeing about 60% of homes sell over the asking price countywide, okay? That's not just necessarily only the best real estate, that's just for everything. And so I think, though, at the higher price points, we're going to see some significant appreciation. And I think with tariffs and construction costs and labor being so expensive, I'm now having more conversations with more people who are like, you know what, if something popped up that was new construction or totally remodeled, where the floor plan was really good, I'm willing to pay a premium so I don't have to deal with that headache of remodeling. If you're curious about why you might not want to do a remodel, check out this video that I did recently about mistakes that we made in one remodel. After we learned our lessons on the first one, we decided to do it right and get the right professionals at a higher price. We had such a positive experience, we would do that all over again. What do I expect over the next couple of months? The winter is a great time to buy. You see many agents actually buying the winter because you can buy properties that were overpriced, that were mispriced from the beginning. You can kind of go in there and negotiate. December is always a fun time. January typically has about the lowest inventory of the year. So if you're a buyer, you're going to want to kind of be patient. There's nothing that really pops up until like third, fourth week of January. But if you're a seller, that's a great time to put your home on the market. It's really hard to time the market, but if you have the option to purchase a little sooner and you can get what you want, then I say go for it, right? Some patience is a virtue and it pays off, but I do think it's always smart to get educated now so that when the right place pops up, you can move quickly, because you saw this data I just shared with you, like a market like Burlingame, for example, 12, 13 sales per month. How many of those are in the price range that you want? How many of those in the location that you want? And when you start to get nitty gritty on this data, you're going to see there's only like maybe 1.3 homes per week coming in the market that could be a possible match for you. Now, let's say you're looking in Burlingame and San Mateo. Let's say you're looking in San Carlos and Belmont, or let's say you're looking in Shoreview and Parkside in San Mateo, or wherever it is. There's just so few homes out there, and there's a lot of money chasing those homes. So make sure, be patient, but if and when you see the right place, act very quickly. So if you're a seller, I think we're going to see a massive spring market in 2026. It's going to be a fantastic time to sell. If you're a buyer and you have cash and you have motivation, or you have a strong down payment, definitely use it to your advantage. Now, it is interesting. This AI wealth isn't staying contained to just one city. We're seeing it up and down the whole peninsula because we are so perfectly situated, being south of San Francisco and being north a little bit of Silicon Valley. The peninsula has always and will continue to be the top choice for many people. San Mateo County is actually the most expensive of the 9 counties in the Bay Area. And for good reason. There's other videos that I've done where I kind of talk about why I think that is. But the reality of it is, if you work in the AI space and you work in tech, your options for work, if you're going to an office, are either in the South Bay or in San Francisco. And by buying on the North Peninsula, you're going to get yourself that optionality where if your job changes, or you have a lot more flexibility from a career perspective, where you don't have to move your house, you can keep your same real estate. And that's another reason why we see so little turnover here compared to other parts of the Bay Area. Now, if you want a personalized analysis of your specific situation, whether you're thinking about buying or selling or just exploring, would love to chat with you. I work with clients at all price points navigating this exact market. All my contact info is in the description below. Now, just to give you an idea, you're seeing here in each of these towns, we're seeing double-digit sales per month, sometimes higher double digits, meaning like we're seeing on this list anywhere from like Foster City, which has 6.8 sales per month this year, Redwood Shores, 1.4, which is crazy low, almost 7 sales at Redwood Shores this year. Now, if we kind of pair this and we look at some population data, which I think is interesting, that we can overlay here on the screen, you can see Belmont, about 27,000 people. Burlingame, about 30,000. Hillsborough, 11,000. San Mateo, 103,000. You can kind of get the point. So when you look at the percentage of how many people live in these towns compared to how few people are choosing to sell, then it kind of hits home of, wow, this is like an end destination. People don't buy in San Carlos. Someday I'm moving like to the East Bay. Obviously, East Bay is awesome, but people who buy here usually tend to stay here as long as they can. Okay, so we just covered a ton of ground here. Maybe it has been way too much information, but I find it pretty fascinating. If you're kind of curious to see what appreciation rates have been like in different cities, check out this video. If you're considering making a move, I'd love the opportunity to earn your business. Feel free to reach out to me, and I'll see you guys on the next video.